Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a video today because there has been a very wide spectrum of reactions since the election. I don't get into politics, it's not my thing, but I felt the need to share my point of view and what I'm seeing right now because I think that there are a lot of people that are trying to discern uh, what just happened and where we are going as a collective and what this all means. So I'll give you my perception of all of this. I think that we have had a huge timeline shift. And I did a post about this the day after the election. And I believe that the outcome of this election has solidified our place in a higher timeline. I think that we have had, and I've talked about this, and many people are talking about this. This is an astral war on our consciousness. This is a war in the astral predominantly and less in the physical, where the prize essentially is our soul and our divinity and our sovereignty, which the dark players have convoluted our reality to the extent that in the past, for many generations, we have been suppressed to the point that we have been unable to or less capable of tapping into our higher self, our higher knowing, because there have been a lot of distorted frequencies and technologies being used on top of government programs that facilitate some layer of or some method of MK Ultra or mass manipulation through the TV and the movies and the music programming through different layers of agendas and the blatant schooling that has indoctrinated our children. You know, they try to get to our children from a young age. And so all of these things have really inhibited our ability as a collective on a wide scale, really tap into a higher density of consciousness. We are kind of limited where there's the ceiling there and they only allow people to get to a certain point. So we are really truly boxed in as a society, as a collective, as a species even. So in order to, if you think about it, if you want to control an arena, if you are an architect of a reality, you're going to set forward parameters so that those that are within your domain are restricted in their capacity of what they're allowed to do, what they're capable of. And the matrix is no less. The matrix is designed in a sense where there are these parameters. So there's a convoluted notion of free will. So free will within this reality, specifically, I'm speaking in this reality. I'm not talking about universally. I'm not even talking about fifth dimensional Earth or Terra or above, just specifically speaking, this third dimensional reality. The architects that have essentially hijacked this reality over many, many eras of periods of time through many, many reasons, or many, many techniques, rather. They have been able to create this frequency or a firmament that keeps people within this frequency that blocks them. So we're in this box. And the way that they maintain it is by keeping us within this box. And how they keep us in this box is to limit our capacity of tapping into a higher knowing. So these architects of this reality have done everything they can to design how we are schooled, how we think, how we detach from the right brain, because we're very left brain dominant as a society at whole, by average, you know, more the left brain than not, because the reality is designed to keep us in that cognitive function. If we're in that cognitive function, we are more primal, we're more connected to the earthbound nature that we are, and we're less connected to the spiritual, infinite possibility or connection to our infinite knowing and our infinite potential in other realities and other versions of ourselves. So, so complicated. But over the most recent generations, there have been souls that have volunteered to come into this reality and descend in order to wake up the ones around them or us that have kind of fallen into this matrix and really anchored here and forgotten who we are, who they are, and have really become so programmed that they are just part of the matrix now. That's where we get this term, the matrix, and all of these terminologies are just metaphors. They're just words. All we're doing is using words to describe what's going on because it's human nature. It's part of our species to speak. Whereas other beings, most beings outside of here, speak through telepathy, heart connection, frequency, harmony, complete downloads where you can connect one being to another and they just know everything that you're thinking and what you want to relay, and there's no confusion. But when you break it down into words and this reality through our voice, there are a lot more restrictions. There's a lot more limitations on how we can communicate, because then we are subject to perception and misinterpretation of the words that we're using because it is so limited. So we just use the words matrix, firmament, even frequency and energy. These are just ways that we can communicate or relay what it is we're trying to say. But because so many people, so many beautiful beings have volunteered to come into this planet, we call those the light workers, the way showers, the star seeds, many words to describe similar things. A massive awakening is occurring because the more these light beings, like I call them comets of light, come into this reality, it starts to poke holes in this firmament or this matrix or this grid, whatever we're calling it. And that's why so many people are connected to the flat earth theory, because in their perception, they really truly are in a grid, in a matrix, and their reality is actually, for all intents and purposes, it is flat. But that's just the dimension they're connecting to. So no one is actually right or wrong in that reality. But if you raise your consciousness and detach yourself from a dimension and you connect to your multidimensionality, then the earth is not flat. It's spherical, it's layered, it's oscillating and actually ever changing. So it just depends on what you're tapping into. Point being, the more people that have come into this reality that have poked holes into this grid, it's caused the frequency within the grid to start to shift. And now the grid itself is oscillating. So instead of keeping everybody in a low convergence and a low frequency that's conducive to fear and dis-ease and lack of self-worth and lack of self-confidence and lack of trust and of yourself going within, it's always looking outside of yourself for a savior or someone to idolize. You know, that's what a lot of religion turned into, is I can't do anything for myself. I need a savior. So the 3D is really embodied in this. We need to be saved. Therefore, we are controlled in some way. If we can't save ourselves, then we are less than something else, a greater power. And that's certainly not the case. That is what we have been bred to believe through generations and through our epigenetics as our children's children are born previously. It's ingrained in our cellular DNA, but our etherical spiritual DNA holds a different truth. So when all of these souls are coming through, breaking down the matrix, shifting the frequencies, now there's oscillation. Now, spontaneously, the cellular spiritual DNA held outside of our body starts to activate. Suddenly it's activating with people all over the world. And that's where we get the term or the idea of being activated, where you hear all these people doing meditations and talking about activations. That's what that means. That's activating the supposed junk DNA, which is just our layers of our consciousness, layers of that spiritual DNA that kind of overlap with the physical DNA, that combines science and spirituality, which is the sweet spot, which is where we're headed. combining the left and the right hemispheres of the brain, connecting the physical element to the spiritual element. All of these things, when you combine the two together, we are more powerful than they can ever imagine. And that's what they don't want. So they limit us to one aspect, the physical, the left brain, the primal, the ego, all of these things that really anchors us into this reality, and it helps this matrix thrive and keep going. The other stuff is a threat. The right hemisphere connects to our intuition, our imagination, our infinite knowing, our wisdom, our connection with the cosmos and our star family, and our higher self and our oversoul that's connected to lots of versions of ourself all over the galaxies. They don't want that because then we can't be controlled. Then the matrix, the illusion of free will starts to break down, and we recognize that there are a lot of parameters set forward that are not in our highest interest, specifically the education. Let's just say the educational sector. Then we have the medical industry sector that includes pharmaceuticals. Then we have religion and the dogmatic division of how, really there's an overlapping division. That's how they keep us really out of unity consciousness. If they can divide us and cause us to hate each other based on ideologies and a belief system that separates us, then it's much easier for them to control us because we're so busy fighting each other and comparing ourselves to each other that my religion is better than yours and my race is better than yours and my gender is better than yours, et cetera, et cetera. My sports team is better than yours. Then we're constantly looking at each other at the enemy as opposed to coming together because they know if we come together, we are extremely powerful and we will see through their illusions and break down. So division is truly is key in this reality. But they keep the division and they amplify the division through the indoctrination education system. So they control what we learn, how we learn, the job market, what is the perceived norms. So what is, people always want to they always want to fit in. So what is the cool music right now? What are the cool clothes to wear right now? What is the cool hairstyle? And, it used to be thin lips and thin eyebrows when I was in I'm born in the 80s. And I remember there was this huge, pencil thin eyebrows and just crazy fads. And then they switch and everyone gets plastic surgery to have thick eyebrows and, big lips. And then what people don't realize is in another decade, they're going to switch it on us and it's going to go back. And now all these people who got plastic surgery are going to want something else. And it's always the point is people don't realize that these Snapchat filters and all of these things that they're the norms that they're creating is making us connect to something that we feel so we can all fit in, that we feel is normal because we all want to feel normal and we want to feel included. But what it does is it always pulls ourselves outside of our own knowing of, well, I don't know if I really like thick eyebrows. I don't really like this type of music. I don't really like the style of clothing in the stores right now. And I can't find clothes anywhere else. So it's like we're forced to buy because every clothing manufacturer copies each other. It's like someone makes the decision and then everybody else follows. Well, if you don't like that style, it's really hard for you to find clothes. So it's constantly making people feel uncomfortable or they have to keep up with the fads, the norms that the matrix sets forward for us. Again, all in a box, keeping everybody in a box. It's layered. It's people don't realize it's everything in our reality, the type of car you drive, electric, non-electric, and the types of makeup you wear or you don't, the types of sports you do, and what's normal and what's acceptable. And if you are not interested in those things, or you go outside of that, you are the weirdo. Something's wrong with you. You're made fun of. That person's super weird because they go outside the box. They expand themselves outside the box and they say, you know what, I'm not really interested in that or those things or doing those things. So I'm circling back in my long-winded explanation and point here. Where are we right now? We've finally broken through an extremely important junction point that we have been in recently of, okay, now we have all these beings coming in and activating. New Earth children are coming in and waking up their parents. The dormant DNA is activating. Our bodies are physically changing. I know most of you are having ascension symptoms. That is just a sign that your body is shifting into a higher field of consciousness and a higher dimension so that our bodies have to change. Our bodies are not processing food the same. We're rejecting the toxins and the poisons in the food more than we have ever before. We have beautiful beings like Robert F. Kennedy, who is advocating for the removal of these poisons and blatant toxins in our food that are making us sick and making pharmaceutical industries very wealthy, because we are getting sick and they profit off of our sickness. I have to be careful how far I go into this because I don't want to get this video taken down. Um, but we reached this pivotal junction point very recently. And this election, I think, was the timeline, truly the pivotal marking point of where are we going to solidify ourselves? Where are we going next? Timeline one is transhumanism, full control, robot people, full suppression, no rights, not even the perception of free will. That would be gone. It's just full control. We lose the democracy altogether. And they were using trickery to entice people in through division and these woke agendas and very extreme woke agendas and infiltrating a lot of people into that extreme so they can push people into that timeline. But those people didn't know or don't know, probably still to this day, that those agendas were leading to something that they're not even aware of, they're not even expecting, which is convincing them to merge with AI. Oh, look how cool it would be, technology. You can be a superhuman, and all of these things they're not realizing where it's actually going, dismantling the family unit. You can change your gender. Next thing you know, it's okay to be merged with animal DNA, and you want all these people that are identifying as cats and lizards and all these different species. Next thing you know, they're going to start, they were going to start including bestiality. Oh, let's just merge our DNA. You really want to be a cat or a squirrel or something? Sure. And then next thing you know, we've got the introduction and the acceptance from society of let's mix our babies with animal DNA. And I mean, this might sound absolutely insane to a lot of you, but these are the crazy things, places that we were headed. And people didn't see that agenda, but a lot of you do. I mean, the people watching my videos certainly have. So that's where we were headed. The other option is the liberation of humanity by blocking all of that and pushing us into a different timeline of the ascension, the Great Awakening, the Golden Age. You know, my title of my last book, Starseeds and the Great Awakening, I use the term Golden Age in the subtitle, and I think it's very interesting that that word is being used a lot now, even by Trump. Many people, and I've been using the word Golden Age for a really long time, and I love that it's surfacing to me. That tells me that it is within the consciousness of the collective that's awakening, and it's a possibility. It's not a possibility. It's the reality that where we're headed, if that makes sense. Like it's now imprinted and embedded in the consciousness. Now everyone's talking about it. That means that we have reached it. We have finally reached a point where that's where we're headed. If that makes sense. And that's why I wrote the new book, Courage to Change. We have to have the courage to be different from those people and their belief system and their, unknowingness of where they were being led through manipulation and many tactics. It's harder to stand up and be the different one, to be the black sheep, the rebels, and all these things, the way showers. You have to have the courage to change who you are and recognize the wrongs you've done in your life and the mistakes that you've made and take responsibility for those things and have the courage to go within. That's a scary thought. To receive validation from yourself is probably more scary than receiving validation from others. I'm telling you, it's so much easier for people to pretend to be something else, put their self out on social media, get the likes, get the validation. Oh, I love, you're so amazing. Great. But how do you sleep at night? Because you didn't actually validate yourself, and that's the most important thing. So we're tricking ourselves. We're being taught to trick ourselves by receiving validation from everyone else. We don't know those people. We don't know what their life is like. Why do we need to receive validation from everybody else? Why are we not good enough? Why are we taught that we are not good enough to validate ourselves? And not in an egocentric way, not in an arrogant way at all. Just be in a humbling way, go within, forgive ourselves, love ourselves, nurture ourselves so that we can shift our own frequency and heal. And disease and 3D interference and none of that works when we are at the best version of ourselves with the highest frequency of our potential. Our body will start shifting more into 5D much faster. The ascension symptoms might get exponentially worse for a period and then they'll plateau. So much happens. That's where the magic happens when you are able to accept who you are and validate yourself from within. So that's what's occurring right now. And that's what the freedom movement, the second part of my title is the freedom movement. We are in the freedom movement right now. This is so exciting. This is a truly exciting period of time because we are collectively moving towards this is the freedom movement timeline. So by President Donald Trump winning this time around, the second time, regardless of how this triggers you in this video and how many of you may not like him, and many of you do, it doesn't even matter. It's what he represents, what this political party, I don't even want to use political party. I don't even like, I feel like it's a dirty word. This group of future leaders, what they represent and what they stand for is the liberation and sovereignty of humanity. They're moving us in the right direction. They are advocates and the way showers of collapsing the education, the corrupt education system, the corrupt medical system, removing toxins and food from our food and from the air, the environment, taking care of ourselves and coming together as a collective through unity and they're against division. That's where we are right now. So it's very positive, regardless of if you like Trump or not. Try to get on board with the fact that what he's representing and where we are headed, if you get rid of all the junk and all the layers of media manipulation and all the harsh things that they try to throw in front of us so that we don't see the actual agenda at hand that he's trying to put forward, then you might see through that illusion and that trickery and see, oh wow, this group of individuals has our back and what they're doing, because we also don't want to get into this. I'm not the type of person ever actually in my life. In hindsight, looking back, I really noticed this about myself. I've never been someone that idolizes anybody. I'm not a big fan of celebrities and all of that. I never cared. So we have to tiptoe around where we're headed right now and how we feel as a collective in this savior complex imprinted agenda as well. So we can't look at someone as, oh, good, we're being rescued. Because we're not children. We're not meant to be rescued. We've just been placed in a path where we're going to be supported. And now what we need to do is not sit back and watch television and wait for things to happen. What we need to do right now is take advantage of the fact that things are working in our direction and we are going towards a golden age. But it's like all hands on deck now. The way we keep the frequency high and come together as a collective is to now each one of us take responsibility for our role moving forward. So no saviors, no sitting back and letting everyone do all the work. It's about how we are all individually contributing to what happens next. That is what we should be focusing on right now. Not everybody is meant to be out there opening schools like I'm trying to do, writing books, public speaking, doing podcasts. Not everyone is meant to do these grand things. No one is better or less than. Some people are just meant to hold the space in their community, energetically, in the frequency, just being a good person, holding the space, There's different layers of the roles that we're playing. Again, no one is better or less than the other. So somebody out there public speaking that has millions of followers is no better than the person in their home that is very shy and introverted, that is doing grid work and working in the astral to clean up this space and rescue lost souls. Neither one of those is better. They're equally important. So not everybody's meant to be a public figure or out there. That's a really important thing to understand, but it's about the integrity and the energy that you're putting forward. So another thing that I've seen a lot of is people are understandably worried that why is it so quiet right now? Why are there riots? Why is the other side seemingly so calm and not making a big deal? Or there's no where are all the riots that people thought were coming and the upheaval of I mean, we've seen the videos and we've seen the breakdowns of certain NPCs and certain people losing it. But I'm talking about like the grand scale, like um, blue cities losing their minds and going crazy. Well, where people are almost like waiting for something to drop, right? So I look at that two ways. One, we're so programmed into the 3D that think that things can't be good and there's always going to be some consequence. You know, we're always waiting for that negativity to follow anything good. Um, but potentially, if we truly did, and I believe we did, but let's just take my opinion out of it. But I feel it. I'm sure many of you feel the shift in the timeline shift. You feel it. The air is lighter. I feel excited now more than ever before. I feel like my project now can move forward. I feel like this green light. So I think that we're so programmed to think negatively because that's what we expect. That what if we actually did shift timelines? Again, taking my opinion out of it. Could it be that this is the higher timeline and there is no backlash? And this is actually the calm and this is the new energy and there isn't anything coming? Could that be? I think that's a possibility. I think that's a very big possibility. I'll share this vision I had with you yesterday. It came at the most random time. I was playing with my, no, sorry. I was out on the scooters with my kids yesterday, riding these electric scooters. We always go out, ride around together. I had this crazy vision. I like almost spaced out for a minute or two. I don't even know how long it was, but I had this vision of all of a sudden mass, like on a macro scale, all of these souls were exiting the planet. Like, think about a movie where all these like dark beings, like you see them in like almost like black smoke, just kind of going up squiggly lines or energy, like leaving the planet. And I was like, what the heck? What did I just see? But it was such a quick download that it was so much that it took me minutes to process. I think what took seconds to get. But what I gathered after I kind of thought about it was I felt like that there was a huge shift. And once Trump won and we shifted into a higher timeline, immediately or within a very short period, many dark souls, dark beings, dark part of the the older timeline, basically, the other timeline just left. Like, I don't know if they were kicked out or the frequency just rose so fast that they couldn't inhabit this space anymore. It was toxic to them. It were, and it was a mass exodus. And I thought to myself, oh, is that why, or is that how so many people, because I'm not the only one, so many people felt lighter after the day after. Could that be why? So many people have felt a shift in a positive direction and people are feeling really motivated and excited and the potentials are infinite now and my mind is buzzing with ideas for the stuff that I'm supposed to do, I know. So there goes circling back. Oh, sorry, there was more to that vision. After that, what I saw was a lot of those beings were connected to the people that are severely, unfortunately, fragmented. I'm talking about the people who have lost themselves and have really gone down the dark hole of this low vibration, and they're part of the that other timeline. But they were being falsely manipulated. So it's almost like the souls that left were a lot of, not all, but a good amount of them were connected to people here. So I feel like the backlash of that, or not really the backlash, but what's going to happen next after that is a lot of people are going to spontaneously wake up and be like, but the problem is they're going to be so confused. So they might have a negative reaction. They might get really depressed and freak out and have like a psychotic episode because their host is now gone and they're looking at themselves like because their soul had been dissociated for so long that they're back and they're like, what the WTF? What's happening? And it might be really confusing. But this isn't a negative thought at all because then immediately after I said, oh, those are the people that, so I'm getting this message and I'm sharing it because I think that we as a collective, we have to rise above in the sense that we have to have compassion. We can't hate those people because if they are going to awaken and they are, I believe they are, many are, we have to support them the best that we can. I hate to use the word have to, but I think a lot of people will, the healers and a lot of people, the mother energy and a lot of people, the compassion and a lot of people will want to help those souls find themselves again. And that's where I've been seeing in a humanitarian way the future, which I believe is 2025. Um, I wrote about it in my last book in the kind of the future projections. Humanitarian centers opening all over the world that are resource centers for people who are recovering from basically 3D. I'm not laughing, it's not funny, but I'm talking about fragmented people labeled with mental illness and all sorts of things that are really struggling to disconnect and figure out who they are and find themselves again. We're going to have massive wellness centers open up. No more of these hospitals that are acute, strict medicine and Western medicine and pharmaceuticals, but natural healing and all of these things. Um, so that was my vision. So circling back again, could it be that there is no backlash and we are solidifying ourselves on a higher timeline? And we need to release the fear that potentially something negative is coming because I almost feel like that is in itself a psyop or a last ditch effort of the dark ones to implant in our mind if we're thinking, oh my God, what's next? So we're all looking around, we're all like kind of tensing up, like we can't enjoy this perceivable win because we're so worried about what's to come, a negative thing that we can actually manifest it. This is how they work through us. They know we're master manifestors. So whatever they can trick us into focusing our consciousness on, we create. So I encourage people, regardless of what's happening, and we don't know for sure, let's all project that there is no backlash and nothing happens. And we continue to maintain this golden age. And if everybody goes within, releases the fear, doesn't even focus on the negative potentials, and starts to get motivated and design as your own architect. What do I want the world to look like moving forward? Take responsibility for your role. Like what could I do? Even if you're in a job right now, you're struggling and we need time for the economy to heal and all of these policies to be rebranded and all of these things, we need a little bit of time. So not everyone can just quit their job and forget about money and finances and go volunteer their time. But what we can do is focus our attention on, okay, when the time comes, I'm so excited and I'm so hopeful. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I see humanity at large doing or pockets of it. And just start to put that energy out there and focus your attention on what we deserve, what is coming, so we can create that in a timely fashion. The more of us that are thinking along those lines, the quicker that will occur. Start forget, and a big part of this is forgiving. Forgive the people that wronged you. Stop, like disconnect yourself. Stop giving them the power. Stop giving the less you forgive, the more you give those people power over you. Don't give them power. Just forgive them. Let them go. Literally visualize them like a caged bird. You open the door and say, you're free. You're free from me. Like you're the cage. You had them locked in your heart. You were so angry at them. You couldn't let go. I'm so mad at you. How could you hurt me? I'm locking you up and I'm angry. Well, you locked them up in your consciousness. Who knows what they're doing? They probably moved on and they're hurting other people. They don't care. Whatever the reason may be, it doesn't matter. You're control. You're the architect. So open that cage, see them flying away, wish them well, and free yourself of the connection of that person or those groups of people. So forgive, and then forgive yourself for whatever you feel you need to forgive yourself for, and then start the process of self-love and believe in yourself again. I can't tell you how many people I come across, and including myself, in my own journey, and my clients and colleagues and etc., who have this underlining thought in the subconscious of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve. What we don't realize is this is from lifetimes of, for many, not all, but lifetimes, or imprinted in the collective consciousness from other people's trauma, collective trauma, that we have had lifetimes of suppression from the dark players that kept us in this box, kept us contained. And we were controlled and we were manipulated and we weren't in an environment that was cohesive. And it was all about us not being good enough, because anyone that feels that they're good enough and they have sovereignty, they're not going to be enslaved. That does not fit together. So a lot of people have been, the epigenetics of humanity has been manipulated into believing in almost like a core value somehow, which value is a wrong word, but core, this value that we're not good enough, we don't deserve. And we have to get away from that. So let that go and start calling into into your reality and into your field. I deserve anything and everything that's in alignment with my highest good. I am divinely supported, protected, and loved by the universe. Call that energy in and stay calm right now, stay diligent, because we do want to pay attention to what the other side is planning or doing, but just don't focus on it. Focus your attention on saying, I don't consent. Everybody say, I don't consent to any negative backlash from the other side or the other timeline, and visualize all of us collectively on a higher timeline above that. Like literally the frequencies are stacking almost, or oscillating like this. So we jump from this lower timeline to a higher. Now we're oscillating up here. So we're above all of the negative potentials. So try to shift your perspective, or at least consider what I'm saying. If this resonates with you, try to consider your thoughts, your actions, and your mindset from this moment moving forward in alignment with that. Because we are the architects moving forward. And now we have a leadership group. I'm not going to use the word politics anymore. We have a leadership group that is in resonance and alignment, in my belief, that is pushing for or supporting the sovereignty and the highest good of humanity for those that choose. But again, they're not our saviors. We don't bow down to them. We have respect for each other. I genuinely respect the work that you do. Thank you so much for your contribution. But we don't bow down and say, oh, you are everything that I couldn't be, and I wish I could be like you. No, no, that is enslavement imprinting. We are equal. It just may not be perceivably equal in what we're doing. Someone could look at the president and then look at somebody like myself. Let's compare me to the president, Trump. Well, most people would say, if not all, he's doing a lot more than you, Sherri. So in essence, he's better or higher. But that's not true, because even he would probably say, no, no, no. Look at all these things that this soul is doing, and all those things energetically behind the scenes in the astral that you don't even see. And I need her to support my mission. And he needs us to support his mission. Do you see how we're all connected, and we all matter, regardless of what it is that we're doing, as long as we are putting our attention towards the collective effort of raising the frequency of humanity and working towards that unity consciousness and supporting each other. There is no hierarchy. And I can pretty much say with certainty, if he were to watch this video, he would agree. I would hope. And then there are some that are more spiritual and less spiritual. That's the last thing I'll say. You know, we can't judge people on their spiritual meter, because not everyone's here to have a spiritual experience. So we do need the innovative, like left brain thinkers, the engineers, the architects, and that in the physical sense of the new world to bring in technology, the right technology, and the business-minded numbers people. I'm the opposite of that, but we need those people that aren't really focused on spirituality. They're the researchers, the innovators in that realm. So we're not all necessarily left or right brain. It's kind of a nice balance if we have both. But there's always going to be people that are a little bit, and I talked about this in my book, there's always going to be people that are a little bit more in one area of the other, but it's nice to have a balance. It's nice to be able to tap into both. I like to think that I'm pretty balanced, but I'm certainly more right brain. Um, so we need all players. We need everyone's playing a role, supportive roles, active roles, passive roles, all sorts of roles, leadership roles. Um, and those that are in leadership need those that are going to help push things through. So the supporter roles, we need all the roles. All the roles are being identified right now. And you just sit back and think, what role do I want to play? And we don't have to play the same role all the time. That can also change. Right now, you might be one thing, and then when you feel you've shifted, you might change to something else. And I think that's the point of the ascension is we need to stop being so rigid and definitive. We should be more fluid in the sense like, let's grow, let's evolve. We're constantly evolving and shifting. So how we think right now might not be the same later. I certainly can watch videos that I did 5 years ago and I'm like, not that I was wrong, but I think differently now. Is that wrong? No. I've just evolved. So I'm not in that place of like I'm cementing myself that I have to be, that I'm right, and you learn and we evolve. So that's where we are as a collective. We just need to be less rigid and willing to accept that we don't know everything and learn from each other. And also stand up when we feel like we can support others and guide others in the things that we know, because that's where humanity is headed in these leadership roles where we are divided, not divided, that sounds divided, where we share resources based on our skills, like the Lemurians did and the other beings all over do. I think that's enough for today. I don't want to get people bored. I hope that this was put together in a way that makes sense. I never know exactly what I'm going to say once I get started, but hopefully I was on point, and this helps people kind of know where to anchor themselves and their mindset moving forward today and moving forward. So we're not on edge. So try to be at peace that everything is in support of the collective and your highest good. And just keep saying that. We are in resonance with the collective highest good. And so it is, and that's all you accept. So let me know if this video is helpful. Share it if you feel like it would help others, like it and do all those things to help it reach more. I always appreciate your support, and your comments are always fun for me to read. I love reading them. So I hope all of this information finds you all well, and it brings some sense of peace and grounding to you, because that's my intention, that's my purpose. So until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.